Hello to our viewers across New Zealand and Australia. I'm Philip Duncan with your Trans-Tasman forecast, and it is so great to see that Trans-Tasman travel bubble opened up. I was a little bit sceptical about it at first, but seeing the news last night, all those families, all those people being reunited, really cool stuff. So we've got the New Zealand school holidays on at the moment. We've got the Trans-Tasman travel bubble opened. So we're going to talk a little bit about Australia's weather as well as New Zealand's over the next couple of weeks and probably beyond, mostly because New Zealand's weather is coming from Australia, so it makes sense. A lot of our weather comes from the west, and that is exactly where we start today with a low in the Tasman Sea that actually started near Brisbane and Sydney and is now moving in towards New Zealand. Notice the airflow coming from, there's Fiji up there, that airflow feeding right into the middle of that low. So it's got moisture, it's got downpours, you'll have drizzle patches, but also some big downpours, maybe an isolated thunderstorm or two as well as that system moves southwards across the upper North Island. Meanwhile, over in Tasmania, a cooler southerly, and you've got a windy week on the way, so we'll be touching on that in a moment as well. So we kick off with the Wednesday weather map. Now, the centre of that low moving right into the North Island and falling apart, surrounded by high pressure to the north and the east, and this next big high out here. The system doesn't really have much chance to really form. So everything's moving along quite fast. There will be a few downpours around on Wednesday in the North Island. You've probably seen that thunderstorm icon showing up. I always think it shows up a little too often. We work really hard to try and minimize the false alarms, but there could be a couple of thunderstorms because of the instability of that low moving through, especially with the daytime heating. Fairly dry in the South Island, maybe a couple of spits down around Southland, but we've got a bit of a weather change coming in towards Tasmania. So you'll see that here on Thursday's weather map. There is a storm down here in the Southern Ocean, 951 hectopascals, that is surging those gale force winds up into Tasmania and just brushing parts of South Australia and Victoria. Over in New Zealand, that same storm bringing windy westerlies into the South Island and increasing winds through Cook Strait. Otherwise, the North Island's actually quite settled after that low moves through. Here's a close-up of those winds, same time of day, lunchtime New Zealand time, 10 in the morning if you're over in Hobart. The worst of those winds just brushing the southern coast there in the purple-pink colouring. Those are winds of 110, 20, 30, 130 kilometres an hour potentially as that system brushes by to the south. But for much of Tasmania and up here around Melbourne, the winds are anywhere between 30 and sort of 60 k's an hour, which is just getting into gale force. And it's a similar story in the South Island. Gale force in the mountains, but blustery elsewhere. Let's get into the rest of the week. So by Friday, that storm is now south of New Zealand. Windy westerlies or nor'westers blowing around the South Island, rain on the west coast, and gusty winds through Cook Strait. There'll be some late showers or patchy sort of rain for northern and western parts of the North Island as well. It's still windy over in Tasmania, blustery conditions all the way up to about Adelaide, but you can see that big high coming in from Perth. That will settle things down. So as we go into the weekend, the high is in control of Australia, centred down here in the Great Australian Bight. Warm northerlies coming down for Perth, but cooler sou'westers coming in, including for Sydney and Brisbane. Those winds coming in from the southerly quarter, so the temperature's down a little bit. In New Zealand, we've got windy westerlies continuing, a little bit of rain coming into Southland. It won't be much. More rain on the west coast, and sou'westers continue on for the north. And our final map for Sunday shows a cold change on the way for the South Island. See the blue line there? That's a cold southerly change. It will be wintry in the South Island. Here's the good news, bit of snow on the mountains. So we're going to see some snow flurries along the ski fields as this southerly comes in on Sunday with rain and showers, a few west coast thunderstorms, maybe some hail showers in there as well. Meanwhile, if you're lucky enough to be travelling over to Australia, settled for Adelaide, Melbourne and Hobart, but we do have some showers and those southerlies continuing on around Sydney and Brisbane. And that is all from me. We'll see you again tomorrow with our next update.